Welcome to Pirate Living Podcast. We are your hosts, Kristen and Caron. On this podcast, we are highlighting ordinary people living extraordinary lives. These are pirates who take small, bold actions daily to create social change. Pirate life is all about rebelling and breaking the rules for good. Creating lasting social change starts by first breaking our inner rules. After all, the hardest rules to break are your own. Pirates we highlight have dedicated themselves to creating good trouble.
Today, we're chatting with Dr. Sean Pastuch. Dr. Sean is the founder of Active Life Movement and Mindset and Active Life Professional, where he and his team are on a mission to create a new breed of gym owners and coaches through education and mentorship, and to bridge the gap between fitness and healthcare. I've had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Sean and his team at an Active Life workshop where I learned how to do proper movement assessments on my clients, which is a process that I still do for every client I work with today. So, Dr. Sean, thank you for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So, Dr. Sean, you've been charting your own course through the fitness industry, building quite the pirate crew of coaches and gym owners. We would love to hear what started you on your pirate journey and what led you to where you are today.
Happy to share that. And I would add that one of the things that we are more and more becoming aware of is that what we're doing is not actually inside of the fitness industry. And it's not inside the healthcare industry either. And I used to believe that the fitness facility of today was the healthcare facility of tomorrow. And I've come to understand that that's not true either. Mm-hmm. What is true is that we need a third industry. It can't be an extension of one to fill the gap. And so while I think that what you just said was correct for many years in my own mind, it was never actually true. And the reality is we're not carving our own path in the fitness industry. We're working to build an entirely new one. Your question of how it all started, mm-hmm. I won't take you back to the hospital where I was born. Mm-hmm. I'll take you to my experience working as a personal trainer inside of an Equinox. And we'll kind of shrink time from there. In 2005, I was working at an Equinox, which is a high-end commercial gym facility on Long Island. And I was very busy. I had a lot of clients, and I was getting all of those clients because I was the trainer who was interested in working with the people who were dealing with ailments. You know, I wasn't the guy who wanted to train the hot chick. I wasn't the guy who wanted to train the athletic guy who I could do choreography in the middle of the floor with. Mm-hmm. I wanted to help people with legitimate problems. And so since most of the coaches in the gym wanted to work with the opposite, it was fairly easy for me to build a book of business. And it became uninspiring because I would bring my clients to the physical therapy suite inside of the gym, and they would tell me, oh, help them, work around that, or mm-hmm. they're too old for that, or that's just the best that their knee is going to get. And I was like, this is terrible. Like, should I refer them to you? And they'd say, no, they're beyond physical therapy. It's just do the best you can. So I ended up changing career paths, opened a chiropractic and rehab clinic, and a CrossFit gym at the same time, because I wanted to be able to, at the time it was 2011, and I was able to open this gym with my own rules, and no one really knew what CrossFit was, so I could make it whatever I wanted it to be with my clinic associated. Fast forward a bit, and I had patients who were flying in from around the world to see me in my clinic because the way I treated was so different than the way that anybody else was treating. And when people fly in from around the world, you need to be able to help them when they're gone. We had patients flying to New York from Finland, from Canada, from, the Cayman Islands, from the West Coast of the United States, and driving long distances. So they would spend most of their time after treatment needing exercise intervention when they were somewhere else. And at that point, I was basically taking my doctor hat off and putting my coach hat on. After about 2 years of doing that, we had gotten the attention of a lot of coaches. And we hosted a seminar that I put out onto Instagram that was, invite only, apply here. I did that because I was afraid that nobody would want to come. And I would be able to tell the 8 people who came like, oh, you're the only ones to be accepted, which would be true. 120 people applied overnight, and I had to trim the list down to 60, and all 60 people showed up from 5 different countries and 22 different states to a seminar in my little gym in Island Park, New York, to learn how to do what we were doing. We were on our way. Since then, we helped coaches go from, making an average of $1,500 a month in the fitness space to the average coach who comes through our education is making $5,000 a month after 5 months of working with us. And that's the average. There are many who make over 6 figures. The gym owners started to see that these coaches were making these changes, and they wanted to know how they could do it. So they started asking us to help build their gyms with them. And what we're effectively doing now, I've left my clinic, I've left my gym, I'm in this full time, is we're creating gyms who can solve the problems that the rest of the fitness industry, CrossFit and otherwise included, create and or are unwilling to solve. And so that's the long story medium.
So when you say you're making a third industry, if it's not fitness, if it's not healthcare or bridging the two, so what is that third industry that you're
It's
creating?
active life. The idea, the ambition is that you'll be able to go to university and major in active life. We won't have to be the company who grows this on our own. We'll be able to turn to Stanford University, Harvard University, Queen's University. Is that the big one up by you in Canada? Is there a Queen's?
I think that's in the East Coast. Like we got the University of British Columbia.
We'll take that one.
Yeah.
The idea is that this is a legitimate field and people are enrolling to go to school for it. Because right now, fitness, you can get certified to be a fitness provider in 4 hours. The more diligent coursework is a weekend long. And that's unacceptable. We can't, we don't want to, we will not continue to educate professionals and then have them compared to the least dedicated among them. So we need to get them out of fitness.
So would you say you're trying to work to just professionalize the coaching industry?
No.
Or partly?
No.
Okay.
I used to want to do that. That was when I thought that we could extend what fitness was capable of doing. I want to build a different industry. We don't call them coaches. We call them professionals. We call them specialists when they've gotten their professional credential and then they go on to earn specialist credential. And the education that we put coaches through ranges from a year to 2 years, depending on what level of accreditation they want to get from us. And I'm proud of that. We don't want everybody signing up. We want to take the top 10% and make them the top 1%.
So you're looking, the idea is not to open your own necessarily to do that, but to get it into actual existing university colleges already?
Well, we already do it on our own. And I understand that in order for us to be able to have a college interested in licensing our education, we need to demonstrate that there's a market for it. And so the way that we're doing that is, first and foremost, if we can demonstrate that every year we're helping thousands and thousands of people to get out of pain without going to the doctor or giving up their active lifestyle from anywhere in the world, and they're paying us for that service, which they are, then there's a market for coaches to come and get the education because they know that there are people buying this. Step 2 is, if we educate enough coaches to become professionals such that they're leaving gyms who refuse to pay them properly, such that they are unwilling to work 50-hour work weeks, grinding their faces off, such that they are choosing freedom of purpose and freedom of relationships with who they work and how they work, gyms will start to see notice that these are the people who we most want to work with. And if I have to change everything to fill my gym with these kinds of staff, I will. Step 3 is we develop a large enough network of gyms that specialize in not helping people get abs, ass, and ego through, sweat, grinded out workouts, but instead they're going to be passionate about helping people reclaim their active lives and restore their sense in self-reliance. And those gyms, the way that they market and the way that they provide services is going to have to be so different than what happens in a regular gym now, that the person who goes there to see if they can hit a PR this week won't be attracted to it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Once we have that, once there is this entire ecosystem built out, I'm confident that it won't be us going to the schools and asking them to take it on. It'll be the other way around.
Mm-hmm. How do you see the consumer changing from that mindset of wanting to go in the gym and hit a new PR this week to what you're talking about?
What do you mean? How do I see the consumer changing? Do you mean, how do I see, who is the consumer? Or do you mean, how do we help the consumer change what's important to them?
How do you help the consumer change what's important to them?
We don't. We work to make sure that the consumer knows all of the things that are available to them. And then we ask them which one they would like. And if it's the hit a PR this week, then we're just the wrong provider and we find someone who's better.
Mm-hmm.
If we're the right fit for them, then we make sure that they understand that this is where they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think that most people who are in a gym today forgot why they joined. I think they joined the gym because they wanted to live a life that they believed fit people were capable of living, but perhaps they weren't.
Mm.
And then they got into the gym and they got sucked up in this current of this is what people in this gym prioritize. They want to be able to do muscle ups. They want to be able to deadlift a heavy weight. They want to have big muscles all over the place. They want to be thin. When the reality is, when they signed up, they didn't really care about losing weight. They cared about feeling better or looking better. They cared about self-confidence that came from the way that felt. They cared about being able to gain the strength that their doctor told them that they needed to get rid of their back pain. And now they're pursuing a 5-pound PR every 6 months. Who cares? They don't even care.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done a muscle up in 3 years. I never tried walking on my hands. I haven't back squatted more than 200 pounds probably in the last 3 or 4 years. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
What's the value of it?
Yeah, a lot of what you said really, I find mirrors like my own, I would say, journey in fitness, right? When I started, it was about like, oh, I want to learn to muscle up one day. I want to learn this. I want to do that. Versus, making sure that hip pain goes away.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding you. You're saying that is what you signed up for, or that is what you developed to want?
Is what I developed to want.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I signed up, I had just completed a Tough Mudder. And by completed, I mean, couldn't complete because there were obstacles I couldn't do. So I wanted to be able to do the obstacles that my friends were doing that I didn't have the strength to do. That is literally why I signed up at my gym. Mm-hmm. And you're right. You do get swept up in I didn't know what a muscle up was when I signed up because I never heard of one before. And then you see other people doing things and it's to me, it was more about that the ego gets involved. And if that person can do it, then so can I. Or that person just squatted 200 pounds. So I should be able to squat 200 pounds. And as the years have gone on, that ego, the ego part of it seems to have dissipated. And I don't care about muscle ups or squatting 200 pounds. It is about feeling good and healthy in my own body. Do you see that journey with people? Do you see people transitioning from thinking that's what they want into getting back to their roots of what they actually want out of fitness?
Yes and no. So the first thing to that is wanting to live a healthy and active life is no more virtuous than wanting to have a six-pack abs, be able to do 10 muscle ups in a row and snatch the whole world. Neither one of those is a more virtuous path. And there's no judgment for the one that somebody might be on. So for many people, no. Like there are people for whom pursuing goals within the gym is liberating and empowering and confidence driving. And I'm in full support of that. I'm glad that there's an outlet for people to do that. And I'm glad that there are people out there who can help them do that well. Among that group of people who are in the gym today, I don't think many of them need much coaxing. I think that when a coach like yourself walks over to one of these people and says, I noticed that you were holding your back after you did deadlifts today. Are you experiencing back pain with those? And they say, yeah, every time we deadlift, I experience back pain. I think that 99 out of 100 of those people want the coach to ask the next question, which is, if I could help you not have back pain and still be able to do that, would you like that? And the reason why the coach doesn't ask that question most of the time is multifactorial. The first factor is they don't actually know how to do that. The second factor is the member knows the coach doesn't know how to do that, so they don't actually want the coach to ask that question. And third is that would actually be the wrong next question. It's just the final question in the sequence of questions that should be asked. But I just think that it's so obviously what so many people want, and they believe that the gym that they're in is just the best that it's going to get. Just like they believe this is the best my back is ever going to feel, even though it still sucks. And that, to me, that's a shame. And that's what we aim to change.
So with that, we like to ask about social rebellion. Would you say the social rebellion you're looking to create would be getting people moving beyond that, like looking at the way they move differently?
No.
And ask, no.
No. People are less concerned with the musings of coaches and more concerned with how they feel in their body every day, what they're able to do every day. And so, you know, I'll give you my mom as an example. She's in her early 60s, and she every once in a while ends up with an ache or a pain here and there from use. She exercises. She takes care of herself the best she knows how. She doesn't care if her kettlebell windmills look beautiful. She doesn't care if she doesn't know it's important to touch the floor unless somebody tells her it's important that you can touch the floor. So what she cares about is when she moves through her day, she doesn't notice her body getting in the way. That's what she cares about. And she cares that no matter what she chooses to do, her body doesn't get in the way. So you want to go on that hike? She wants the choice to say yes or no. Want to go play on the playground with your kids? I mean, your grandkids? I'm a little old for that. She has the choice to say yes or no. She doesn't have to do it, but she has the choice. Want to dig a hole at the beach? She has the choice. She wants to constantly have the choice where she can say yes and not have to think about, how is my body going to feel when I do this? Am I going to be in pain from it while I do it or tomorrow? That's what she wants.
So what is the social rebellion with your work?
The social rebellion with our work is everybody wants to have their own virtue, right? And so the social rebellion that we have is to say that this is where the value of fitness ends. And after that, it's not fitness anymore. And what's happening inside of a General Gold's gym is no different than what's happening inside of a CrossFit gym. It's no different than what's happening inside of an F-45.
Mhm.
They're different modalities that execute on the same goal. And you might do one, you might do another. You may be the coach, or you might be the owner, or you might be the member. And so you might bias towards yours is better. Great. That's how it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
The societal industry, right? Everybody in the world looking at it, they're all the same thing. They can all get me the same thing. Nobody thinks my back hurts when I lift heavy weights. My physical therapist told me not to lift heavy weights. That's the gym I need to go to be able to lift heavy weights again without back pain. Nobody.
Mhm.
And if you pay attention to the people who are actually looking to lose significant amounts of weight, people who would consider themselves large-bodied, who are aware that they're carrying 100, 200 extra pounds of body mass, if you listen to them, if you pay attention to what they're saying, every time that one of these gyms runs a weight loss challenge or an ad that says, come here to lose weight, that entire audience of people crosses them off as somebody who may understand them, because they're not interested in losing weight. They're interested in living healthy lives.
Mhm.
And having somebody finally understand that they're not just a number that walks into your gym that you assume needs to lose weight. And the fitness industry today thinks that that's the way to get them to show up, and it's just not. So we need to be something different. That's the social rebellion.
So
And the other side of it, by the way,
Yeah.
is every good physical therapist will tell you, I can do the same thing. And the answer to both the physical therapist and to the fitness provider who would say, I can do the same thing, is yes, you can.
Mhm.
But the focus of your industry is not on this. And so you are lumped in with what the focus of your industry is.
Mhm.
It's not an indictment on you or your ability or your interest. It's not an indictment at all. It's simply an explanation as to why people aren't seeking you for it and why this is needed.
So what is then the difference with the physiotherapist versus what you guys are doing?
The way we look at it is it goes fitness, active life, healthcare.
Mhm.
A fitness provider, their job is to help people maximize physical expression. You can already run without pain. Let's help you run faster.
Mhm.
You can already lift some weight. Let's help you lift more. You can already do a handstand. Let's help you do handstand push-ups. Let's increase your work capacity above what you'll ever need it for.
Mhm.
They're taking people who can already take the choice, who already have the choice of yes or no, and they're expanding the performance with which they can execute a yes. Healthcare, the physio, they are rescuing function before it becomes permanent loss. So people are going there to the orthopedic surgeon, to the medical doctor, to the chiro, to the physio, to the acupuncturist, to the massage therapist, when they have a fear that whatever is going on in their life might become permanent or might make it so that they can't enjoy activities of daily living. So an activity of daily living is actually very well defined by health insurance industries, and doctors might say, I don't take health insurance. I don't abide by that. And that's fair and reasonable. Again, the focus of your industry, not you. An activity of daily living is, can you wash yourself in the shower? Can you do your work at work? Can you sleep through the night without pain? Can you wipe your own ass? These are activities of daily living that if you can't do it in the United States and abroad, in a company, in a world where healthcare is not socialized, private health insurance will reimburse a doctor or a healthcare provider for improving your ability to do these things. In Canada or Europe, where healthcare is oftentimes socialized, it would be covered in your healthcare expense, in your taxes, that you can get services like this without coming out of pocket for it. But when you go to the doctor and you say something like, I went to the gym and told my coach that picking a weight up off the floor is fine until I get to over 200 pounds. And then it starts to hurt my back. The doctor is not going to be able to bill your insurance effectively long enough to be able to get you to solve that problem without fudging the records. So the active life professional is there to help restore your sense in self, your self-reliance, and to reclaim your physical freedom. It just gets you the choices. We don't make our job, and our interest is not in making you great at the things that you can say yes to. It's in building your list of things that you can say yes to.
Yeah, that analogy makes a lot of sense, right? That intermediate area of like you said, getting stronger or building the capacity with coach versus actual healthcare it's more about the loss of that function. So somewhere in the middle. And that makes a lot of sense that we need professionals to help people to help, like you said, build their list of yes and the things that they can do and live their life in an active life. So thank you for that analogy. I think that really cleared it up, at least from my brain.
Yeah, my husband's a chiropractor, so he's in that world of the healthcare part. And then there's people that come to him, and he, through all the trainings that he's done, all the things that he's learned, he doesn't look at things as the typical chiropractor does, which is come in, crack you, maybe get some massage in there, send you on your way. He's aware like how you're moving is likely affecting this. So he knows there are certain movements I can teach you that can help get you there. He's also atypical for a lot of people in the chiropractic industry because he's done extra work. So yeah, when you explain it that way, like I'm thinking specifically like my husband can do that, but I also know he's atypical and he's purposefully trained himself to learn to be able to help bridge that gap for people when they come in and be like, I don't want to crack you and send you on your way. And like you said, the billing part though, that billing part is tricky because when you're working with somebody on the story around their back, you can't bill that. If you teach them how to do McKenzie movement or something like that, that's harder to bill too. What the billing agency wants to see is what did you crack?
Kristen, where are you located?
I'm located in Oregon.
Okay, so you're United States.
Mm-hmm.
So what? I was a chiropractor also. We don't need to nerd out on the building.
No,
like
I won't be able to go too deep.
Okay. But I imagine that if you ask your husband where he got the skill set to do things like design exercise programs for people, support them through accountability digitally or outside of the gym, he would answer them. And then you would ask him the predominance of the people who were learning that with you. Were they licensed professionals or were they fitness professionals? He's going to tell you they were fitness professionals. And so what happens there is doctors make the mistake of believing that they are still practicing as a doctor when they do those things. They're not. They took their doctor hat off and they put their coach hat on and they started doing something that is outside of the typical scope of a doctor, which is the reason why it's not taught in chiropractic school, which is the reason why it's not taught in chiropractic CME credit courses, right?
Yeah.
They get it from the fitness world. So it's understanding what scope you're practicing in or what focus you're practicing in when you start to do those things, where I think that there's a lot of confusion from where I sit for doctors and for trainers. When I had my chiropractic and soft tissue clinic and my gym, we had a door, like a major door in between the gym and the clinic. The building I operated out of was a former storefront manufacturing facility. So separate slabs, because it used to be that the sales offices were where my treatment rooms were. And all of the machinery that was like bang, 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 heavy, banging out metal was in a different room in the garage, if you will. So this door, probably if you took it off the hinges, weighed 120 pounds or so. Walking through that door, I would tell patients all the time, on this side of the door, I'm your doctor. on that side of the door, I'm your coach. They're not the same. And the questions that you ask on this side of the door are going to be questions that a coach can answer. And the questions that you ask on this side of the door are going to be questions that a doctor can answer. And for me, I had the literal door.
Mm-hmm.
For most doctors, they don't have that. They have just an extension of their consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Well,
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I assume this happens in the US, but even as I work, well, technically called as a physio assistant, basically I do personal training in a physio office, right? So a physio or chiropractor, whomever, will send their clients that need extra, strength training or whatever to, or, fitness. I'm still doing fitness. I'm doing the exact same thing I do at my gym. Just out of physio office, but amalgamating it and having it right there. And the benefit of us in Canada being covered by the healthcare system. It still is, like you said, two different roles. It's not a third industry in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I would question if you're doing exactly the same things that you're doing in the gym with those same people.
Mm-hmm.
I would question how you're describing it to make sure it gets covered.
How we're describing the
how are you
fitness?
notating it to make sure that the patient is able to have it covered by their healthcare costs, as opposed to the government looking at it and saying this is a gym membership?
I think that comes more as from the referral from the actual physio, and they're prescribing that this person needs to do this, and this in their fitness.
Right. So what I'm getting at is I wonder if the physio said this person needs to be doing power cleans, overhead squats, and muscle ups.
No, we don't do that in my, we're also not doing most of those things in my gym. So as you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's always an interesting line for me, right? Because now when you say that that's not happening in your gym, mostly it's not happening in your gym. Are there people in your gym for whom it is happening?
We have a special competition group that can do it.
So now the question becomes, well, so then what does your gym do? Is your gym this or is your gym that? Oh, well, we're both. Well, then your marketing from the gym is going to struggle to attract one or the other.
Yeah, our marketing does not focus on the sport of fitness. We'll put it that way. Those are generally people that have been around for many years that want to continue what we used to be.
Sure. And I'm not knocking your gym, by the way. All I'm speaking to is that they're like, when we work with a gym, for example, the way that their process works becomes a turnoff for the people who you're describing, who would be the old competitive fitnessers. It becomes a turnoff and then typically don't last in the gym. They start to see the Instagram content coming out and they're like, why are you talking about this? Like, is this what I have to do now? It's like, no, you don't have to do anything, but this is what we're passionate about. I talked to a gentleman yesterday who's pre-opening, who is considering becoming a client. And he asked me on the call, when do you sell me something? Like, you haven't sold me anything. You haven't told me I should buy. You haven't asked for objections. And I was explaining to him, it's not my job or my intention to convince you to do anything. It's my job and my intention to make sure that you know all of your options and that you know thoroughly all of your options. And if at the end of the day, you tell me that you want to run a really good CrossFit gym, I would tell you that's outstanding. You can do that. I would refer you to MadLab. I would refer you to Stu Brower, or I would refer you to Chris Thorndike. Those are my top 3 choices of other companies who help CrossFit gyms become great CrossFit gyms. My belief, I'm not interested or inspired to help people make that business model less broken.
Yeah, you're looking for a completely separate business model.
Yeah.
And so in the business model that you are creating, is it all like one-on-one personal training?
No.
And so there's group training as well.
So to explain how a the experience would work for somebody walking into a gym who is full blown, everything that we ask them to do top to bottom. We are not a franchise, so we don't enforce that they do every single thing that we ask them to.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that be nice? The experience is completely different. There doesn't need to be a big pull-up rig. You need 6 or 7 barbells.
Mm-hmm.
You only need a few 100 pounds of bumper plates because we're not doing Olympic lifting and heavy back squats and deadlifts. It's not interesting. You're walking into a gym that maybe has a cable column or 2 or 3. You are going to see a lot more dumbbells than you are in a standard CrossFit type gym. And every member walking into class will have first earned the competence and confidence to do what happens inside of class through one-on-one engagement with the assigned coach to them. Mm-hmm. And by the way, the number of sessions that they're going to do to start is going to be prescriptive. It's based on what they're coming from, what they want. Then in the class, the first 50% of class is completely custom, totally individualized for them, written by a coach who understands them, their needs, their goals. The second half of class is an individualized version of a group workout. So they don't have to go up to coach and say, hey, I can't do this. What should I do today? Again. Mm-hmm. And what that fosters, what that environment creates for people is a gym that is meeting you exactly where you are at, affording you financial opportunity to get a very high level of coaching without having to do it one-on-one all the time. And it can provide you assurance that you're going to get the resolution to the problem that you joined with. Mm-hmm. That's not what happens in gyms today.
I could say personally, that would be a gym I would be willing to join, because my brother-in-law had a CrossFit gym and my husband was going to, and I was like, I don't want to go in there. I don't want to try to do those things. I didn't even know where a starting point was. And going into a regular gym too, if you don't have a personal trainer, you're coming up with your own things. So without somebody else, I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. So yeah, to be able to go to somebody and be like, this is where I am, and I'm being met where I'm at, like, you'd have me. Like, that would be something. Where in Oregon? Portland.
We don't have anyone in Portland yet, but if you know somebody, feel free to send them our way.
All right.
The thing about this kind of a model is it's harder. Mm-hmm. It's harder for everybody. And that's why, I had someone once tell me if this worked, it would already be everywhere. And I said, okay, I don't know how to answer you. Like that, if cars worked, Henry Ford wouldn't, what does that mean? Mm-hmm. Everything has to be created before it can be everywhere. The reason why it's work is because you can't run this gym with people who took a weekend seminar. You can't run this gym running ads for a free 6-week challenge. You can't run this gym with sexy photos of people half dressed doing cool things. Mm-hmm. It requires that people are professional. And, we foresee a time where retention is actually not the figure that these gym owners are looking at. Right now it still is, but ultimately, your husband's a chiropractor, Kristen. Mm-hmm. How many patients does he retain every month for the rest of their life?
His goal is to not at all. Right. He tells them, I don't want you to keep seeing me. So his goal is like 6 visits max.
And I imagine that you're not living in some box on a corner in Portland.
No, we're not.
Right. So imagine joining a gym, an active life facility, where the intention wasn't to make you a member forever unless you decided, I love this so much, I want to keep coming. The intention was you come with a problem and we help you resolve it. And we give you the competence to take that problem into the world and solve it ongoing on your own, true autonomy. And if you decide, I want to keep solving this problem here, then you get to keep solving this problem here. We don't abandon you. Now what happens is you can charge a premium for that because people are not afraid they have to pay this premium price for the rest of their lives. And you don't need a ton of people to fill your business. And the next person is ready to sign up because there's a wait list.
Yeah, I mean, you know a lot about my gym, and we operate similarly, right? With the personal training and the personalized group classes and the coaches. And I mean, what you said at the very beginning of the people that do want to be chasing those PRs and doing the muscle ups, like we have lost those. It's been a change of culture, right? Coming from being a CrossFit gym to being something that's a little bit more, that's different. That's a little bit more in alignment with what you're talking about. And it's learning to be okay to not be the right choice for everybody, right? And releasing that and really focusing on the people you do want to help and you do want to work with, and releasing those that don't want that.
You're right. The gym you work at is one of the more similar gyms to what we look to do. Advil and Tylenol are similar. One kills the baby, right? So the differences are nuanced and they're distinct. You know, the idea is, who are you, not you, the proverbial you, trying to attract? What do you want the competencies of the coach in that gym to be? Are you looking for somebody who is entrepreneurial or somebody who is intrapreneurial? Are you looking to set people up with salary, or are you looking for people to earn all of their keep from beginning to end? Like, is there something there for them when they arrive? Or is it their responsibility to build that whole thing for themselves? There are small nuanced differences between what we would do and what you all are doing. The way I like to talk about what we believe is that if people graduated medical school and went into a job that paid them $19 an hour, and by the way, I want to be clear, that's not what your gym pays coaches. I know that. That's the average pay of a coach in the United States.
Yeah.
Medical schools would be out of business. So we want the gyms who we work with to have a job available to somebody who would come out of the education into their gym and immediately be earning the kind of money that they need to earn to justify the education that they just finished, which is, you know, $40,000, $50,000 a year to start. We want to create an environment where that can be what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the coach builds upon it.
Yeah. I think I reached out to you. You made a post about the dollar per hour. And I think you talked about $19 being the average. And I reached out to you when I first started my very first personal training job. I made like $6 an hour, and I quit to be a receptionist because that's where I could make more money. And even though it was a job I loved, being in the fitness industry, it was not feasible. I mean, yeah, this was in the olden days, it was in the 90s, but still $6 an hour is not quite cutting the mustard there.
No. And you look at most gyms today, let's look at the coached model. You know, the coached model would be an F45, it would be a CrossFit, it would be an Orange Theory. In that model, the only way to be financially successful as a business is to create arbitrage on the coach, which means you need to have a high enough volume of people who are working with that singular coach that their excess payment outweighs what you're paying the coach to be there, whether they show up or not. And when you really start doing the math on that, the only way to be successful in that environment is if it's purely a group environment that's coached, is if you're running it 15, 20 people to one coach. And I have no problem with that. We just need to be honest about what it is. And it's not a high level coaching experience, right? You can't tell people that what makes us unique is our great coaching and then say, we're going to put 20 people in a class with you. Because if we take that class and extrapolate it for a full hour, as if it runs a full hour every time, and we pretend that the coach is fully invested in every member, every minute of the class, at best, you're getting 3 minutes of coaching every single time you come to class. And that's if the coach has 100% attention on you and not one eye on the rest of the room to make sure nobody died.
Mm-hmm.
That's not high level coaching.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about, like, what are the different programs that you guys offer?
We have 3 programs. Program 1 is one-on-one coaching for the RX client.
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with aches and pains, or got a client who enrolled today who had a heart attack 8 weeks ago, and the gym that he was going to sign up with didn't feel confident that they could help him. So they sent him to us, and we'll send him back to them when we're done getting him ready for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's one arm of our business. We help people get out of pain and get back to living their active life without ever having to give it up in the first place or go to the doctor to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need to go to the doctor, we don't help you. We send you to the doctor. The second business that we have, the second offering that we have, is what we call the ALP, the Active Life Professional Mentorship Program. The Active Life Professional Mentorship Program is where the coach of today enrolls to become the professional of tomorrow, solving the problems that we as a company solve for our one-on-one clients, and doing it either in person or online. Technically, there's a second offer along with that, which would be the specialist, but that comes after they complete their credential. And the specialist would be, you want to do things like go into sports performance, work with athletes who are finding themselves hurt, because that's different than working with the everyday person who's finding themselves hurt. You want to work with people who need nutrition support. Okay. You want to work with people who are immediately post-surgical, immediately post-rehab. We teach that in our curriculum, but it's not, it's never going to be as in-depth as if we spend 6 months on that alone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when you finish the curriculum, you'll understand what is different about a client coming to me who had surgery and 14 weeks of rehab for 4 anchors in their shoulder compared to a client who had surgery and 8 weeks of rehab for 2 anchors in their shoulder. You'll know the difference when you come out of the ALP. The specialist will know a lot more around those conditions. Deeper.
Is that the ALP? Is that what used to be called the immersion program? Coach
No.
immersion? Okay.
So the immersion program is now a portion of phase 1 of ALP.
Okay.
So the immersion course, what you're describing, is a course that thousands, frankly, of coaches have taken. It was 13 weeks long. 3 of the weeks were on business and sales, and the other 10 weeks were on delivering the service effectively to help people get out of pain. We looked at that and we said it's a good start, but we're not doing an adequate job of preparing these people for what needs to be in their repertoire. Mm-hmm. So now they have, ALP includes the assessment from seminar, all of the immersion content, learning how to use breath work to create a more stable brace and to affect neurological state, orthopedic considerations so that you understand how to deal with, like what I was just describing, that scenario, all kinds of orthopedic injury, business management. So the idea of what should your schedule look like? How should you find a client? What should your pricing be? What are your packages supposed to be? How do you set up your schedule, if I didn't say that already? Mm-hmm. Sales, where in the immersion you got 3 weeks of sales. In ALP, you get 13 weeks of deep dive sales with sales leads on our team. And everybody in ALP gets assigned a mentor who is responsible for making sure that they are moving through the material effectively, applying it, and earning the ROI that they're supposed to earn from the coursework. Mm-hmm. And if the mentor isn't the right person to give them the support, we have subject matter experts who the mentor books a meeting with both the client and the subject matter expert to discuss the topic. So let's say, for example, you said, I'm struggling with my ability to get this person to breathe horizontally.
Mhm.
And your mentor is trying to help you, but they're struggling with it a bit. They're going to have a meeting with you and with Lance, who is our breathwork lead. And Lance is going to teach you how to do it. And you and your mentor are going to leave the meeting understanding what your next steps are. And then your mentor can hold you accountable to executing those steps.
Mm.
So that's what ALP has become.
Mm.
And then the specialty part of it is just, like I said, additional coursework and additional skill sets on the backside of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, working with people who have chronic disease, working with people who have neurological deficiency, that kind of stuff happens on the backside. So then the third offering is ProPath, which is where we help gyms run business systems that facilitate having these kinds of coaches inside of their gyms, these kinds of professionals.
Mm-hmm.
What we saw over and over again was coaches who would gain this level of skill bumping into the ceiling that the owners in the gym unintentionally set for them. This is what sessions cost. This is what we'll pay you. It's harder to sell sessions because of the way that we run classes. It's harder to sell sessions because of the way that we deprioritize personal training in the point of sale for a new member, right? All of these different things became problematic for our graduated coaches to be able to experience success. So now we help gym owners set gyms up in a totally different way than they're used to setting gyms up, so that they provide enough of a cushion for the coaches to be able to attract really high level coaching staff. And there's enough room for those coaches to continue to grow so they can earn in excess of $100,000 a year, working less than 35 hours per week in the gym, with less than 25 of those hours a week being on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we want for the coaches in these gyms.
And your AOP offering, how long is that program?
So it's self-paced with a mentor.
Mm.
And we would like people to be able to finish it in less than 13 months.
Mm.
If it takes you much longer than 13 months, it means you're moving a little bit slower than it was designed.
Mm-hmm.
If it takes you much less than 13 months, it means either you're a prodigy or you're not applying it appropriately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a huge difference between learning the material and actually applying it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The immersion was 1 hour of education a week when you went through it. ALP is going to be more than that. It's close to, on average, I would imagine it's close to 2 hours a week
Mm-hmm.
of going through content. It's a substantial lift. Like I said, we're not looking to make better fitness professionals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So where can our listeners go to find out more about you and all of the offerings that you have?
That's it. We're done already.
I mean,
We can keep
we are
talking.
not quite done. We still have more. However,
Well,
while
I
we're
can
on
tell
this-
I can tell them where they can find me, and you're free to ask me whatever more you still have. I have time in my schedule. Go to @Dr Sean Pastuch on Instagram. That's everything that you're going to find from our companies is linked right there.
Mm-hmm. You've been amassing quite a pirate crew of coaches working with you, and I've met a few of them. I've had the pleasure. How many coaches do you have now in your crew? Like directly working for Active Life and its subsidiaries?
We have about 26 staff members.
Mm.
I say about because I'm not exactly sure. I think that's the number that was on the email that I sent out on Monday to everybody.
Yeah. And how do you pick those, the people that are on your crew?
It's a great question. So we pick the people who are going to work with us based on who we believe is a culture fit. And then we teach them what they need to learn in order to be a skill set fit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that with the exception of some executive team right now who I hired to come in and help us build systems for our company as we grow that I don't know how to build because I've never grown a company past where we are. Everybody on our team came through some part of what we deliver. Either they were a one-on-one client of ours, they were a coach who went through immersion in ALP, they were a gym owner who was working with us who has since sold their gym. All of our staff right now are at that level, if I'm not mistaken. I could be off by 1 or 2, but I don't believe so. The way that, what I think is actually more interesting than that is the way that we ascend people within the company. So I don't know when this is going to get released. When are you planning to release this podcast?
I think this will be early April.
Okay. So
we're way ahead of the game.
By the time that this gets released, there will be a significant number of our team members who came on and started with us fairly part-time, who will be full-time, like their dedicated work is working with us as a combination of either working on an administrative level, creating content for us or curriculum or delivering it, or they will be working with clients as a active life professional coach or active life professional staff member, I should say. I'm still struggling to figure out how we separate those staff from non-staff. And as a mentor to ALP candidates. And so the way that we ascend people is when we look for people to hire for jobs, the first thing we do is we put the job offer out within the company. And we don't put the job offer out for the position. We put the job offer out for the person, or excuse me, for the attributes that we believe the person who would take the position needs to have. So for example, we recently hired a new social media manager, and the job posting didn't say social media manager, it didn't say the pay. It didn't say what work they'd be doing. It said, we're looking for somebody who enjoys repetitive tasks done very well, creative tasks that they are responsible for both adapting and developing on their own. And we went through, you should be a fairly extroverted person for this role. You should be a very disciplined person for this role. And we don't think you should be disciplined or extroverted or punctual for every role. But for this one, you should. And so we asked people on the team, if you feel like you have these attributes, please step forward. Then it was, okay, this is the work that we're going to have you doing if we hire you for this job. Do you believe you would enjoy deploying those attributes at this work? And then there were less people. Then it was, okay, please do this assignment and show us what your work doing this would be like so that we understand how much education we need to provide and development we need to provide and how much you already have. And then it was, okay, we can make you this financial offer. Do you want this job? It doesn't start with, this is what it pays and this is what the job is, because people will sweat the acclaim. I get to run those Instagram accounts. That's so cool. I want it. Yeah, I want it. Well, no, you don't. You like the idea of it.
Yeah, it's a very pirate way of like finding the right person for the right role, and finding out if they would enjoy that role. Because I mean, I've definitely applied for jobs where I thought I should apply for that job, and now know that that would not be a role that I would enjoy. But at the time, you don't consider that.
We all have the friend or family member who keeps on getting jobs, and you're like, why do you get that? Like, do you need someone to tell you that that's not going to work out? Everyone knows it's not going to work out. But they hope that it does work out. They believe this might be the time that doing the thing that didn't work 7 times in a row is going to work. And it's because the person who hired them didn't know what they were really looking for. Right? We bring people into interviews and then we try to parse out the stuff in between what they tell us, instead of just saying transparently, this is what we want. If you're not it, you're not going to like this job. Are you it? Because if you're it, we'll talk about pay, what the job is. But let's find out if you're it first.
Mhm. We talk a lot about like having a general overall pirate code. So do you have an overall pirate code that you use to govern your business?
I have, let me see. The answer to your question is yes.
Hmm.
I'm just trying to be more theatrical about it. I have a document that I wrote that is 115 slides on a keynote presentation that defines our culture. So within that, we have 11 key tenets in the culture. They're not our core values, they're our tenets. And they are, and then, so the way that the slide deck works is we share a tenet and then we unpack it in the slides thereafter. And so they are, we measure all that should be measured and acknowledge what should not. We prioritize simplicity. We calculate and take risks. We speak and accept truth. We are aware of our competition and focused on our team and client experiences. We use work as a tool to enhance life and life as a tool to enhance work. We protect one another. We set and respect boundaries. We value human connection over automation. We are unreasonable with our expectations. We are improving.
And so that's definitely a pirate code.
Mm-hmm.
So who is that deck for? Is that for current like employees and crew? Is that, and
it's for employees and team.
And how did you come up with it? It was together that you guys came up with this?
Yes.
Okay.
So I believe that there are things within a business that should be done democratically, and there are things in a business that should be done authoritatively. And setting, for example, our company values, I did authoritatively. Well, that's not true. I did it democratically with our leadership team, but really I steered them towards what I wanted them to be. But the values need to reflect the ownership, especially in a small business, because you need to be inspired to show up for work every day as much as anybody else does. And so you got to build a business around your own values and then find people who align with them. That's my belief. Our values are act with high integrity, which means do the right thing because it's the right thing regardless of personal loss or gain. Professionalism, which means seek to earn people's trust on purpose consistently. Live an active life mindset, which means you understand that you are only a masterpiece if you are also at the same time a work in progress. And team first, which means we understand that everything that we do represents everyone who works with us. And we put that reputation, the team's reputation, over our own opportunity all the time. It means if a client is giving a teammate a really hard time, we disregard how much money that client is paying us and we side with the teammate. And everybody on our team knows that, and all of our clients know that. So the way that I went about building this document, this long culture code slideshow, was this past fall. So at the time this comes out, about 6 months ago, I realized that the people who helped us get here wouldn't be the people who helped us get there. And unfortunately, because I liked these people, I ended up letting 3 key team members go, executive staff team members. And what I realized in doing that was that we had never discussed together what our rules were. What are the rules? Like, how did these people end up not working in this company anymore? Why are people moving slower than maybe we should be moving? And Sean, are you just standing there with a whip telling them to go faster and they couldn't, so you threw them off the side of the mountain? No, of course not. But we never had those discussions. So I asked everybody on the team, what questions should I be asking you so that I can better understand the culture that you would be inspired to work in? And everybody sent me questions. I took those questions and synthesized them down so that the duplicates were the same question. I only asked one of them.
Mhm.
And then I sent out to everybody on the team, what are the answers to these questions? They were the questions that they told me I should be asking them. And then I asked them back to them.
Mhm.
And based on the answers to those questions, I was able to have one-on-one meetings with every single person on our staff. So I had FaceTime meetings just like this, one-on-one with every single team member who I didn't already have one-on-ones scheduled with. And I asked them another question, which was, what is the question that I should be afraid to ask you? And getting to the bottom of all of those conversations allowed me to synthesize all the things that they wanted and put them into words. Like, this is what we're proud of. This is who we aspire to be. This is who we are now. This is how we do it. And in effect, they helped me write the deck. I just did it by myself.
What were some of those more uncomfortable questions?
How do you see me advancing? I don't. Right now, you're scattered. You're doing a bunch of different things. And I understand that part of the responsibility is of us as a company to provide you with a path of certainty.
Mhm.
We only have so many paths of certainty, and we afford them to people who are more demonstrably dedicated to being here long term. I had some of those conversations. I had conversations around why did this person get let go? I wasn't scared to answer. Like, the thing for me about questions like that is I understand, because a mentor taught me early in my professional career that for me, it's not a high conflict conversation until somebody's punched me in the face. Like, it just, you could push me, you could scream, you can get 1 inch from my face and I can laugh it off and we can be friends 5 minutes later drinking a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
For other people, just having to bring themselves to say the word no is high conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted everyone to know that I needed them. I needed them to be honest with me about the things that perhaps they were afraid to be honest with me about, because they were afraid of how I would respond if I heard something I didn't want to hear.
Mm.
And since those meetings, we've had 2 people, maybe 3, decide that this is not the company they want to work in long term.
Mm-hmm.
And I told all of them, I support that. I can't imagine the amount of stress that it must have been causing them while they were back and forth. Is this where I want to be? I'm not sure. Are we doing this? Are we doing that? I don't know. Like, if we're doing that, I want to be here. If we're doing this, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now you know. Now it's all right out in the open.
Mm-hmm.
So what were some of the more positives that came out of, I'm not saying that that's not a positive, but that came out from that open communication?
By the time this comes out, our marketing will have changed significantly.
Mm.
And that is because of a new marketing lead who we hired.
Mm-hmm.
And that marketing lead got hired in November and immediately went to interview every single person on our staff.
Mm.
She was a one-on-one client. And she asked them questions about what their experience being here was like. What has it afforded them to do? What did they sacrifice to start? And she started talking to our clients about their lives. She's in North Carolina right now as we record this, meeting with a client.
Mm.
No one on our team has ever considered doing that.
Mm.
So the fact that she is on site with a client, learning as much as she possibly can about them, getting it documented. What happened was people started to tell me, marketing, the message that we're going to share out into the world, I can see myself in it for the first time ever, because she came and asked me questions and it was reflected in what you shared.
Mm-hmm.
I got people telling me that they felt like they could finally feel like they could provide input that would affect the way that we operated the company, because we ascended a staff member who previously was a rabid evangelist of what we do, who was disgruntled, and for good reason. She is a rock star, and she was in a position where she couldn't possibly be successful. And we created a position for her, and the position that we created for her allowed her to create opportunities for everybody else. And she understood exactly how they felt because she felt that way. And so she was able to build a system that allowed them an outlet that could influence the way that the company runs. And so people were like, it's transparent now. We can see why we're doing what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
By the time that this comes out, I told all of them in the meeting, we will have, like I said in the beginning, ascended people from part-time positions to full-time, full employee.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past, we've talked about doing a lot of things, but then a lot of the action didn't get taken. And so we changed the plan, and people were like, well, I just started working on the fucking plan. Why are we changing the plan? Well, because no one else started working on the plan. Mm-hmm. Now we set a plan, we made a promise, and we're going to be able to share with them in our quarterly meeting in January that it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the proof. So I had somebody's wife on our team reach out to me and tell me how much change she's seen in her husband working at our company, that he's more confident, that he's more capable, that he's stands up for himself now, that he believes in himself now. I've had clients who have sent me DMs and text messages out of the blue telling me that whatever we did, they didn't even know we did anything. The level of support and guidance and mentorship that they feel is amazing. I'm like, okay, well, what more could I ask for?
Mm. Yeah, I don't know if you've read, we've referenced it a few times on our podcast, but I don't know if you've read the book, Be More Pirate or How to Be More Pirate.
No.
Great books, highly recommend. And, you know, one of the things that they talk about, and this is the reason I'm asking these type of questions, is really how to build a more pirate organization rather than, you know, your standard, you know, non-exciting organization. And, you know, the challenges that you face as you grow is things naturally tend to become less and less pirate as you grow. So I'm really interested in how you're maintaining that, like that pirate grassroots organization as you expand and get to be a bigger and bigger business. So yeah, thank you for sharing those things, because to me it's fascinating, and how we can not only make a different industry with fitness versus healthcare, but also create a different type of organization to do it in.
Well, I can only speak to what we've done so far.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what will be when we have 1,000 employees, 10,000 employees.
Mm-hmm.
What I can tell you is some things end up being less pirate because it's better.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you a really simple example. When we started to give people job titles, I was like, oh, this gives me the heebie-jeebies. Like job titles, I hate job titles. Oh, you're an executive VP. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Right? What's your job title, Sean? I don't know. The owner.
Mm-hmm.
The value of giving people job titles is that as much as we want people to work in the company forever, some people won't.
Mm-hmm.
And when people are looking for jobs from the outside looking in, they haven't experienced working in a company where they wanted to work forever. That's why they're looking for another job.
Mm-hmm.
Having positions like director, vice president, associate vice president, executive vice president, all of those kinds of things, right? What those allow is for somebody in another company to see the level of position that this person held in another company.
Mm.
And so it allows people who are looking to come and work for us more confidence that if this doesn't work out, or if it does work out and I still need to leave, my skills will be easily understood and transferable to another company.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to, you're the chief happiness officer. And now you end up at another company and they're like, What did you do? What was your job? Right? I can't tell if you were somebody who was paid $1 million a year or if you got $8 every time you called somebody.
Did you work at a children's museum or were you working
Right.
as a CEO?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Were you making executive level decisions or were you showing up before every meeting and telling jokes?
Mhm. Also, I think Kristen's our chief happiness officer.
Perfect.
It's your role. That's now your title.
So that's an example of why you want some things to be less pirate. Another example is when you're a jet ski, you can change directions without affecting anybody else. You're the only one on it. When you become a cruise ship, if you turn too fast, people fall off. And it's not fair to people that they don't know what their future looks like. Nobody feels confidence in a company that's constantly twisting and turning. They want to know that they can predict their future. And so there are things that I believe are better when put to traditional systems. And then there are how you live within those systems that can be pirate.
Yeah, absolutely. That's that's a great analogy with the jet ski and the we'll call it the pirate ship. But yeah, maintaining that balance as you grow is important. And there's a lot of pirates out there that are, pirates within the Navy, right? Within a system, what can you do within the system that's going to be different and affect change and cause the good trouble?
Well, an example of where pirating would be really bad for one of our clients is you sign up, your mentor is Dan. So your gym is getting mentored the way that Dan mentors. Kristen signs up, her mentor is Mary. So she gets mentored the way that Mary mentors. I sign up, my mentor is Ken. So I get mentored the way that Ken mentors. If one of you is getting worse advice than another one, well, then we're not doing anything consistently. So we need to know that all of our mentors, all of our staff are going to be making decisions that are ubiquitous across the team. You're not getting mentored by Ken. You're getting mentored by Active Life, and Ken is delivering the message.
And do you guys have a like flagship facility, or that was my question?
We don't own our own facility that we operate within. No.
Yeah. Okay.
We contemplated it. We actually had somebody approach me who wanted to invest to open 20 of them at the same time. And the idea was this person had access to the buildings. He was going to put up all of the money, outfit all of the gyms, pay for all of the staff, and he wanted to open 20 Active Life gyms at the same time with the same branding, the same equipment, the same everything. And he wanted to own 50% of the franchise model that would be Active Life. And the idea was these 20 gyms would be in premium retail locations in major cities. And we would mess with the system until it was perfect. And then we would deploy franchises in the vein of all of these locations. And that was tantalizing. When you look at what that costs to do, you know, anybody with a napkin can do some math really quickly on how much money there was involved in that possibility. We elected not to do it because we're not sure we want to go the franchise route. We elected not to open our own because the reason I don't own a gym is I don't have the chops to be a gym owner. The reason why people who work in our company don't own gyms anymore is they don't like the day-to-day of doing it. They did it. They were successful. They sold their gyms for legitimate sums of money, 6 figures in some cases, right? They get paid real money to work at Active Life. And their entire lives is dedicated to helping other people who love doing it, do it.
And so everything is virtual.
Yeah, we do some in-person events, but it's we're a remote company.
That as someone whose gym keeps getting closed down because of COVID, have you noticed an uptick with all the gyms closing and people coming to you? Have you noticed a change in your business? Like
2020,
growth?
in 2020, we doubled. And I think that the reason why we doubled was, while most gyms in 2020 were losing money and closing, the gyms we were working with on average made more money in 2020 than in any other year in their entire lives. And they were able to do that because they were already servicing clients at home who were members of the gym. And so when it was time for members to not be allowed to come to the gym, it was, well, yeah, we'll just keep writing your workouts at home the way that we're doing them in the gym. No big deal. And their friends, their members' friends, couldn't get that at their own gym. And so they're like, wait, I have a complete discontinuation of service and my gym is asking me to pay just to borrow a kettlebell. Your gym is actually doing all of this for you. How do I join your gym? And so the gyms we work with grew. And so when they grew, they told their friends. When they told their friends signed up. When their friends signed up, they grew. They told their friends. That's how it worked. We work with a gym in your neck of the woods. When I say your neck of the woods, I mean north of our neck of the woods. Jesus. They're on the East Coast. They're in Toronto. And they just increased, they had their best month ever last year. They finally got to around $60,000 a month. And they just increased their rates by about $90 per month per member. And if they lose 40% of their members, which they won't, they break even. Their expectation is they'll lose about 20%.
Well, how would you recommend our listeners start their own pirate journeys and whatever that might look like?
I like to tell people that you should figure something out that you love so much that you wouldn't do anything else to make money, and then make sure that you make money doing it. So there are 3 things I think that need to be true in order for you to do that. Number 1 is there must be a market for what you do that is growing. It can't be a shrinking market. If you're selling newspapers and you love it, you're fucked. Number 2, that market needs to be able to afford what you do. So if you're looking to start a business for a competitive, curling, well, sure, maybe there's competitive curling and maybe it's growing because of the Olympics, but I don't think there's a lot of money in that. And they might not be able to afford paying you a premium. And then finally, you need to be able to deliver real value to that industry, to that problem. You can't just show up and declare yourself. You got to find something in that market that is unsolved, that if solved, makes everything else about it easier. You don't have to create something new, just solve a problem that no one else is focused on. If you can do that for a market that's growing and has the money, you'll be fine. And you have to set out with the intention of, I'm going to make money doing this. The people who share, like Joe Rogan. I love Joe Rogan. He always talks about he never meant to make a living out of the show, and that he thinks that's why it's so big. Great. How many Joe Rogans are there? Is that possible? Yes. Is that likely? No.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of coaches that get involved in the fitness industry because they want to help people and they say it's not about the money. And I have a mortgage to pay. So it is also about the money.
Well, it's when a coach says that to me, I ask, is it about the martyrdom? Right? Like, you didn't get into coaching to get rich. I get it. You didn't do it to be poor either. So if you're making, the reason why fitness has so much beauty to it is you can be a lawyer who coaches classes or works with some personal training clients on the side and makes their money as a lawyer and does this because it's their passion. That's great. If you're struggling financially and you're saying, I'm not in this for the money, you're you're setting yourself up for a life you don't have to live. That could be very different. You could be a great coach doing great things, making enough money to have some financial stability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've talked a lot on this podcast before about the service and sacrifice, and the fact that those two are often so married in our stories that we tell ourselves. And you can be of service without sacrificing whatever it is that you need to, your own life. You don't have to be, the poor coach.
In fact, you can provide better service if you don't sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, there's a reason why coaches look up to celebrity coaches. It's not because they're broke. There's a reason why people want to work with celebrity coaches. It's not because they're living a pauper's life.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because they're like, I eat ramen noodles every night because I just love my clients so much.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's because they've demonstrated that people will pay me hundreds of dollars per hour to do work with them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, well, that seems like it's good. That's in high demand. I want that. It's a strange sickness that comes upon fitness professionals where they believe that it's desirable that they throw themselves on the sword for their clients.
Mm-hmm.
Clients don't even want that.
Mm-hmm. Wonder where that story comes from.
I can tell you where I think it comes from.
Please.
You get into the industry. Nobody who you know is making any real money. You find it very difficult to make real money. You all commiserate together. Yeah, well, we didn't get into this to make money. Ha, 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 ha.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you show up to the gym and you're like, well, I did, you're the weirdo.
Mm.
You're excommunicated for showing up to make money. And it's a self-sabotaging community.
Mm.
That's my belief.
Mm.
Which is why we can't be fitness.
I'm glad I'm not part of that.
Brought it back around.
Yeah. Awesome.
Mhm.
Our last and final question, and we did get the answer from your assistant. I don't even know if you know that we got this from your assistant. But do you know any pirate jokes?
I know a lot of pirate jokes.
Oh, please share.
I have 3 kids.
Okay.
2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old.
So then, of course.
Of course.
How do you know you're a pirate?
Mm,
Don't know.
You don't know this one?
maybe. Is it? Do you think, therefore, you are? But you could probably tell us
That's one way to
better.
do it. I would have said, you don't know. You just are.
Oh, I like yours better.
Right? I mean, what kind of socks do pirates wear?
I don't know.
Oh, that I don't know.
Uh-uh.
You don't?
Uh-uh.
Mm-mm.
Argyle.
Oh, that's a new one.
That
Learn
is a new
something
one.
You know what? Yeah. Yeah, that's that. Those are the 2 that come off the top of my head, but I know I have a book full of pirate jokes somewhere.
Well, we appreciate hearing a new one because we get a lot of repeats, which is fine.
Well, okay, I got one more for you.
Yeah.
Captain Hook, Blackbeard, and Jack Sparrow walk into a bar. What do they say?
Don't know.
Ow.
Oh. That took me a second.
Took me till right now.
Yeah. Do you want to know the joke that your assistant
Sure.
put in for us? Why does it take so long for a pirate to learn the alphabet?
I don't know.
Because he spends years at sea.
Mm.
So I don't know your assistant's name, but please thank them for that one.
Sheila.
Yes. Awesome. Well, this has been great having you on and talking to you and, learning all about your pirate organization and the new path that you're carving out and not changing because it's all brand new. So thank you for sharing everything with us and for joining us on our podcast.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.